I'm so sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. I do wish they'd stop doing that. So now that he's dealt with, we can begin. So, much like many of you out there, I had a childhood. And during my childhood, I was pretty into video games. I had an old PS2. I started playing games at the end of the PS2 era because the PS3 had just come out. I got a second-hand PS2. But just before I started, there were this group of classical games on the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2, which were, they were considered classics. They were good, they were fun, they were action platformers. These were games like Spyro the Dragon, Jak and Daxter, Crash Bandicoot, and Ratchet and Clank. And these went on to be very successful franchises. Recognised up there with names like Mario and Sonic, which is exciting, and it's exciting to grow up alongside that. And what's even more exciting is when you hear, when you're 10 years older maybe, that your favourite games from your childhood are being remastered. That's what happened to me. These games were, in no particular order, Crash Bandicoot, which got its first 3 games remastered in 2017. The first 3 Spyro games, which were remastered in 2018. And the first Ratchet and Clank game. Just the first one, which was rebooted in 2016. How did you do it? How did you get it so wrong? How? Tell me. Look me in the eyes and tell me. Who's responsible for this? I've killed before, I'll kill again. This video will go excessively in-depth. This game. And this game. Future me, put it like there. I don't have a physical copy of that game, I've only got it digitally. But this one I've got a physical copy of. Technically I've got 2, the other disc was scratched, so I had to get a replacement. But it's not even this version of the game that you'll be seeing. I played this version, and I was like, I want to make a video on this, and the reboot. And I was like, oh shit, my capture card can't handle the PlayStation 2, it runs at 25 frames a second, which, given that this game runs at a smooth 60, seemed unfair. So, what you will be seeing is the PlayStation 3 HD remaster, the PlayStation 3 HD remaster gameplay, which is exactly the same, except for a few minor graphical glitches, and it sometimes lags quite heavily when there's lots of explosions on screen, which the PS2 version doesn't do, and so I kind of don't want to hold it against the game. Whatever. We're going to be comparing the 2002 Ratchet and Clank game to the 2016 reboot. There'll be 2 sections, one for each of the 2 games. There, I'll do a short section on the movie, which came out. I bet you forgot about that. I wish I could. And then compare and contrast the 2 games with a conclusion, and then we're kind of done. So I will leave chapter links in the description, because I have a horrible feeling this video is going to be quite long. Let's get to it! In terms of telling these games apart, I'll be referring to the good game as Ratchet 2002. By the way, Ratchet and Clank is now 18 years old. I am a fossil. And referring to this mess as Ratchet 2016. Coming out in the early 2000s, Ratchet and Clank 2002 was kind of at the tail end of the golden age of action platformers, because, we'd already had all the games like Banjo-Kazooie and Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon, but it was nonetheless very successful. It was a lot like its contemporaries in a lot of ways. It was fun, exciting, original, at times whimsical, and extraordinarily clever, but it was different in one key way. It was kind of darker and more satirical, but not darker and more satirical in the Conker's Bad Fur Day sense, where it's like, haha, the funny children's game said the naughty word. It's more, haha, the funny children's game advocates for communism. The game starts and we see Ratchet on his home planet, Veldin, trying to build a spaceship. Elsewhere in a factory, a small malformed warbot falls off a production line. He grabs a nearby infobot and flees the facility. When he's chased by some guard bots, he panics and crash lands on the aforementioned planet Veldin. Seemingly interested in the crash site, Ratchet goes to investigate, and we get our first bit of gameplay. It's a really simple, linear section with some slight platforms to teach you about the concept of the Y-axis. There's some crates to bash, which have got bolts in them. Bolts with the currency. Don't think about it too much, because before you know it, all you'll be thinking is that we assemble everything with fucking money. It's ridiculous, but you know what? It's unique, and I appreciate that. There's some basic frog-looking enemies to introduce the player to melee combat using Ratchet's Omni Wrench, and a bit of ranged combat with his literal bomb glove. The frogs die in one hit, so aren't much of a challenge. The only way the challenge really increases is when Drek's security bots are introduced closer to the crash site. Most levels follow this same structure. Basic grunt enemies slowly build up to bigger, stronger enemies. Overall, the area is simple, easy, and not hugely interesting. Equally though, it is the tutorial, and what do you expect? Although that didn't stop me plummeting off this cliff. It's this short level where we're introduced to the Gadgetron help desk lady. She's part of the tutorial. You may notice that I don't interrupt her messages, even though she tells me that I can. And it's because she will be relevant later. Anyway, Ratchet fights his way to the crash site and picks up the small robot, and carries the robot back to his garage.
Interesting.
Guy!
You're quite handy with your wrench.
You bet. I built that ship with it.
Currently, I'm in search of someone who could be of assistance in saving the solar system. Do you know where I might find that fellow?
Well, he's on the radio every week. Other than that, no. Hey, what's with all this save the solar system stuff anyway?
This is the first bit of dialogue we get in the game. This. I'll remind you of this fact later, but it is important, so try and remember it. We'll add it to the list here. The robot shows Ratchet the info bot, and this is the first time the player sees it too. It goes as such.
Hello, citizens of... My race, the Blog, have a small problem. Our planet has become so polluted, overpopulated, and poisonous that we are no longer able to dwell here. But I, Chairman Drek, have a solution. We are constructing a pristine new world using the choicest planetary components available. So, what does this mean to you, you might ask? Using highly sophisticated technology, which you couldn't possibly understand, we will be extracting a large portion of your planet and adding it to our new one. Unfortunately, this change in mass will cause your planet to spin out of control and drift into the sun, where it will explode into a flaming ball of gas. But, of course, sacrifices must be made. Thank you for your cooperation.
Cut!
And if you don't like it, you can take your whiny, sniveling, snot-nosed populations, form a line behind me, and kiss my... We're still on? Well, turn it off, you idiot!
Ratchet agrees to help him find Captain Quark if the robot can help him fix his ship. As the two leave the planet, Ratchet says,
Whoa, this is great! So that's where I've been stuck this whole time.
Please return your appendages to the steering mechanism, sir.
Huh? Oh, right. Sorry. Oh, and by the way, you can stop calling me sir. The name's Ratchet.
Pleased to make your acquaintance, sir.
You got a name?
My serial number is V54296.
Oops. I'll just call you Clank for short. Hang on.
This is a superb, concise opening that effectively establishes the two lead characters and their motivations and personalities, with Clank being a kind but kind of naive individual who just wants to help someone and won't even find someone to help the galaxy because he can't do it himself. He's tiny. And Ratchet's kind of an arsehole. He just wants to get off the planet where he was stuck and doesn't seem unduly bothered about implied genocide. This is where the first main level of the game begins. Novalis is under attack from Drek's troops, and there's plenty to do there. First of all, the level design in this game is terrific. Every level, bar a couple of more plot-heavy ones, features at least 2, if not 3, and I think in one case 4 different paths for you to go down and explore. Each of these paths will end in plot progression in the form of a new character or gadget that you need to progress, or an infobot, or an optional gadget. And there's nothing telling you if something's optional or not, so you're kind of just left to explore and discover what you need for yourself. And I really like it, it's good level design. First up though, I talked to the Gadgetron vendor on this planet. Now I really like the Gadgetron vendor. He'll say something when you talk to him, maybe something like,
"Hi there, Fuzzball."
Incidentally, the Gadgetron salesman is voiced by Neil Flynn, who played the janitor in Scrubs, and he is the best character in the entire show.
Well, if the cut was that deep, I'd probably just pull your arm off. Once again, Dr. Jan Itor. Dr. Jan Itor.
First, I want to head this way, and we're going to jump up the first 2 platforms and, At this point in the game, the platforming and combat aren't particularly exciting, you know, we haven't got all the gadgets that we need to make it more interesting, but a couple of platforms that raise and lower themselves make this short section interesting enough to get us here, where we meet the Plumber. The Plumber is one of the greatest one-off characters in this game. Just watch this cutscene, it's so good.
Dad, blast it!
Look, plumber's crack.
What did you just say?
I said, look, the plumber's back.
All right, wise guy. Shouldn't you be on one of them escape transports?
Escape transports?
Newsflash, giant robots attacking! The escape transports are taking all the rich folks off this god-darn planet.
So why aren't you on one?
Socioeconomic disparity.
What?
He hasn't got enough bolts.
Working people have to wait for Captain Quark to save us.
Well, got anything worth a lot of bolts?
I got this thing. Shows 2 weirdos ditching their ship. It's got coordinates to a desert planet, too.
An infobot. Ratchet, we could use that.
God, I love this cutscene so much. It's so full of life, energy, and character. It's witty, funny, and most importantly, it's not afraid to use big long words that startled me as a young child.
Socioeconomic disparity.
What was I supposed to do? It gives us an insight into this world and how nothing is actually free. Even a person's life can have a price tag strapped to it. I mean, this guy literally cannot afford to save himself from the Blarg invasion. That's rough. So we give him 500 bolts for an infobot, and our heroes watch it. In it, we see that Pro Hoverboarder Skid McMarks and his agent were under attack above planet Iridia. Unfortunately, we still don't have a ship with which to leave the planet, which is a bit of an issue. So we'll slide down the sewer pipe after the Plumber and emerge by the Gadgetron vendor. As we fight through the next gauntlet of enemies, which incidentally is more combat, less platforming than the other one, we are going to learn that different enemy types require a different approach to combat. So for example, the Pyrocyter can be used for crowd control with smaller enemies, so spin around in a circle while you're holding it down and it'll keep the small guys at bay, whereas the bigger enemies, you'd be better off using the Combustor or Omni-Wrench, you know, the Omni-Wrench heavy attack, and it adds a fair bit of spice to combat. It's a nice system where different things will affect different enemies more or less than the other. At the end of this path, we're greeted by the chairman of the planet, and for not being mercenaries or assassins, he gives us the infobot to Al's RoboShack on planet Kerwan.
Has this ever happened to you? Hi, I'm Captain Quark, and believe me, there's nothing worse than staring down a Blargian snagglebeast from the inside and knowing your equipment isn't functioning properly. That's why I come to Al's RoboShack for all my electronic needs. Al has been the exclusive repair shop for my super electro gadgets since I was knee-high to a sand mouse. If Al can't fix it, it's not broke. Right, Al? You said it, pal! So if you're fighting crime, or just fighting grime, come to Al's RoboShack in Metropolis for all your robotic repairs. Al's RoboShack, it's Quarktastic!
I love this infobot. It's one of the first examples of Captain Quark being openly duplicitous and kind of an arsehole, but we don't know that yet. And so it makes a really cool thing to watch when you finish the game and get the twists later on. So now we've got the coordinates for 2 planets, but I have the magical power of having played this game quite a lot before, so I know where to go first. We want to go to planet Kerwan to get the helipack, because that will help with navigation. So let's hop in our new ship and head out into the vastness of space. I just love this, like, unintentional feature in these videos where you can... my outfit changes so much and I change because I spend so long making these videos. So I suppose now is probably a good time to talk about this thing that Ratchet and Clank does. It's... in the early 2000s there was this competition, I suppose, to try and create seamless open worlds in video games, and Ratchet and Clank has got a golden ticket solution to this in the form of the ship. You go to different planets, so fly to different planets, and it hides loading screens behind a short repeated shot of the ship flying through space. And it's really simple, and it's the same shot over and over again, but it lends this excellent feeling of immersion to the world. Anyway, touchdown on the planet and, you know, talk to Gadgetron Vendor, the usual. And then we've got to choose, left or right. Now, to the left, we see... I don't know who that man is, but I'm enraptured by his gaze, and I'm going to go speak to him.
Excuse me, Captain, but we have more pressing issues. We urgently need your assistance.
Clank?
Yes?
Do you notice anything unusual about Captain Quark?
Well, I find the fact that he has a spring where his leg should be to be quite puzzling.
And why do you think that is?
Possibly an injury incurred while battling evil?
This isn't the real Captain Quark, you numbskull. It's a robot.
Oh.
So the Quark bot wants us to undertake this, like, platforming challenge. It's kind of an obstacle course. It's simple, it introduces wall jumping and the explosive crates, which are explosive. When we get to the end of the course, we meet Helga, the training robot. Now, Helga is another of the many one-off characters in this game, but she became a bit of a fan favourite and ended up returning in cameos in later games.
Listen up, you loudballs! That was the most pathetic display I have ever seen on that obstacle course!
What do you mean?
We finished the circuit, ma'am.
Oh yeah, but it is weak. Weak! When I was competing, I would devour courses like that for breakfast!
Bet that's not all.
If it were up to me, you would drill for the rest of the day! But somehow you managed to impress that fool Captain Quark!
Captain Quark knows about us?
He certainly does. And worst of all, he wants me to give you a prize for that ridiculous performance.
Cool, what is it?
I'm supposed to give you a swing shot, so you can sway to and fro like little insects.
All right, let's see it.
Not so fast. Today the two of you disgraced my obstacle course, so I am going to make you pay.
But that prize is ours from the captain. That's not fair.
Too bad, life's not fair.
Sweet. I bet Captain Quark uses stuff like this all the time.
Ha! Real men can swing without silly toys like that. The two of you make me sick.
We give Helga the necessary 1,000 bolts, and she gives us the swing shot. Hooray! The swing shot's cool. It lets us whoosh, swing. It's really fun, I promise. So we zipline back to the start, and now we're going back the other way. This bit's much harder. I'm an idiot. I should have bought the blaster. I needed the blaster for this section. It's so much more combat than platforming. This is the thing. It has a platforming route and a combat route, and this is the combat route, and I don't have the combat utilities. We arrive at Al's Robo Shack, and he tells us that he hasn't seen Quark since they shot the infomercial together. And, like, why would he? It's literally just... it's an advert. Most of the creators you see on YouTube who claim to use a service like Honey or play Raid Shadow Legends, they don't. They are told to say that, and you know that, and I know that, and everybody knows that. Even the companies know that, but it's quietly agreed that you tell people you use the service to get them to use the service, and that's what this is. Quark is openly being duplicitous, and what the fuck? What are we gonna do about it? Nothing. Al does, however, have some use. He offers to give Clank an upgrade, and that is good. Now, this is a good upgrade. It is literally a helicopter. We have turned Clank into a helicopter. So we pay him the bolts, write it off as a business expense on our tax forms, and move on. Going out of his garage doors, there's like a load of crates piled up that introduces to using the helipack, and it's really fun. You jump and you keep going. I love it. It's so cool. As we're walking back to the ship, we've kind of hit a dead end, but we've still got planet Iridia to go to, so we're just walking back. We're talking about maybe getting an ice cream, if we can find an ice cream truck on the way, when we see this info box. Fuck, that'll probably be useful. Fine, let's go. So, off we go. We chase it. And this section is brilliant, because if you jump, because physics, the train goes out from beneath you. You jump, you stop moving laterally, you're moving vertically, the train continues to move laterally, and that's perilous. It doesn't do that in the reboot, but we're not talking about that right now. Soon. This is also an excellent introduction to the balancing act of combat in motion and combat using the helipack, because you've got to balance not falling off the train with not getting shot off the train, and etc, etc. It's really fun. It's a short section, but I enjoy it. It felt like a nice little spectacle, especially given that we're still kind of in the introduction section of the game. So, keep the excitement up. When we reach the end, we pick up the infobot and it gives us information and coordinates for Drek's logging site on planet Eudora, and yeah, we'll go there, but we've got to go to Iridia first, and if it keeps going like this, it's just the galaxy's never going to get saved, because I'm going to keep getting distracted by, ooh, we should go there next. So, we're going to Iridia first, because we got that first. So let's go! Upon landing on the planet, I recommend buying the Pyrociter for... Pyrociter? It's Pyrociter, it's not Pyrociter. Reboot Ratchet and Clank, it is not Pyrociter, alright? We're faced with two standard paths. First route, directly behind our ship, is where Skid McMarks is, like... literally, he's right there. We landed next to him. So, let's go talk to him. He's stuck here because, incidentally, Skid McMarks is voiced by Neil Flynn, who played the janitor in... Oh, I feel like I've said this before. Oh, bloody hell, he's a busy man. We kill all 57 sand sharks as requested, and I recommend using the Pyrociter for this, which is why we bought it. The sand sharks are pretty weak, so they go down in like one hit, and you can use if you fire the Pyrociter and spin around in circles, you can just repel them, and it's really cool. With the vermin dealt with, Skid can get back to his ship, and he rewards us with a really cool hoverboard. Hell yeah, I like hoverboards. Heading in the other direction, we find our way to Skid's Sports Shack. It's the actual reason he was coming to Iridia in the first place. It's not even finished being built yet. It's still in development, so it's an obstacle course, and also it's full of people with flamethrowers. On the left route, there's a little bit of platforming and a swing shot section, and there's a skill point you can get if you swing shot to the top without touching the ground. And at the end of it, you're rewarded with the Trespasser, which is like a high-tech lockpick. The Trespasser is weird for me, because I really like the puzzles, I enjoy solving the puzzles, and it's a perfectly good gadget. I just think that looking at this screen hurts my eyes, and I find it hard to concentrate on, and that could just be me. But even if it is just me, I'm deducting points from the reboot for things that are just only bother me, so ding. And it's actually something that the reboot doesn't do, because it goes into its own menu screen, and I don't mind that. I think the reboot does it better. The other sequence through the Sports Shack is very general. It's a really nice blend of platforming and combat, and it's fun. I don't know what to say to you, it's fun. At the end of it, we meet Skid's agent. He was there too, remember him? Yeah, me neither. Anyway, he tells us that if we can bring him the prize from the hoverboard races in Blackwater City on Rilgar, he will give us something. How vague. But also we don't know where Rilgar is yet, so that's not happening. We do need to go to Eudora though. Remember that happened? Yeah, let's go do that. Eudora time.
I'll make you my next star.
We have no time for trivial matters, sir.
I could be the next Skid McMarks.
Scene continuity is for idiots. I'm just going to keep changing things. You can't stop me. Before we arrive on Eudora, though, we do get a short cutscene from Chairman Drek, and it's on his flagship, and it shows us just how evil he really is.
Commence towing our planet to its next destination. Lieutenant!
Yes, sir.
You have fulfilled your tree quota. Barely.
We are ready to return to base.
Not so fast, Lieutenant. Just because we don't need any more trees doesn't mean they should have them. Destroy everything.
Also, a little thing the game does that I don't know if anyone's noticed it. I assume they have, but I haven't seen anyone talking about it, so I'm going to talk about it. And I really like it. I think it's brilliant. So every time you get a cutscene on Chairman Drek's flagship, you get this like Star Wars text thing at the beginning that says, "Meanwhile, aboard Supreme Executive Chairman Drek's flagship." Except every time they add a new word in front of Chairman Drek. So it starts off with "Meanwhile, aboard Chairman Drek's flagship," and at the end it's "Meanwhile, aboard Supreme Leader Executive Chairman Drek, Sir, flagship," and it makes me think. I'm pretty sure that's how Kim Jong-un would have got people to like refer to him, at least until recently. So we land on the planet and have a look around. The first thing that caught my eye was this locked door to the left of the ship, and eventually decide on lifting this bridge up. And this is the level where the bolt cranks get introduced. The bolt cranks are fun, because they make just opening a pathway interesting. And that's clever. I like that. I actually really liked this level as a kid, because it always felt busy, like it was bustling with life and energy because everyone was running around trying to cut down trees. I also really like this level because it felt like there were so many like snippets that never really went anywhere, but they had some bolts in them or something, you know? It was fun. It felt like a big level, even if it actually had very little to do with the rest of the game. At the end of this, actually surprisingly long path, we obtain the suck. Following the way out, we find ourselves back at the beginning of the level. World design that makes coherent physical sense and warps back on itself. What is this, Dark Souls? Going down the route we opened up earlier, we have to use the bolt cranks to lower platforms so that we can make it across these vast chasms. And at the end, we meet Drek's henchmen. And I'm always kind of conflicted about this cutscene because, on the one hand, it's a kind of funny subversion of expectation of the typical henchman trope of just where they've just dropped him from the game after this because he run away, he's scared, which, you know, normally a henchman wouldn't do. But on the other hand, with this doesn't feel like it would actually happen, you know? I don't think it was very good. Anyway, he drops an infobot, and this infobot gives us the coordinates to Nebula G34.
I'm Supreme Executive Chairman Drek, and we here at BTS are seeking motivated individuals to fill positions in these exciting careers. Grind boot tester, warhead assembly technician, mutant animal husbandry, robot repairman, suck cannon test dummy, and administrative assistant. So call BTS. Build our weapons while you build your future.
I'm calling BTS today.
Welcome to Nebula G34. It's a space station. I love it. It's one of my favourite levels in the game. It's also one of the biggest and most complicated levels. First off, I took this route that's to the right of the ship, and the main challenge on this route is the poison gas sprays that are coming out of the ground. And just don't run into them, because otherwise you breathe them. But as long as you jump over them, it's fine, your lungs are safe. That's how gas works. I promise, I swear. That is how gas works. Behind this locked door here is a veritable fortune of bolts, so grab all of that. When I came in here, trying to dodge the gas, I did a stupid thing, and died. Don't do that. So let's do it all again. This time, don't die. At this point, when you emerge from the cavern... By the way, what is a natural cavern doing in a space station? Is it built around an asteroid or something? I think it might be built around an asteroid. Is that an issue? Anyway, emerging from this cavern thing grants you a checkpoint, which is helpful because I actually struggled with this next bit a bit. You know, not like Dark Souls struggled, but it took me a couple of tries. Mainly, it was difficult because of these aliens with the massive underbite, who are called alien snappers, according to the wiki. They can take a surprising amount of hits before they die, think that being stun-locked or making it obvious that you're taking damage is for stupids, and will quite happily nip your furry tail. I found taking them out at range with the blaster was a pretty effective way of dispatching them quickly, but then you've got the little froge things. Stupid gamer froge. I found that sucking them up with the suck and then blasting them back, using them as projectiles against the alien snappers, was pretty effective. Regardless, once you've cleared everything out, remember to have a look in the little pod areas, because there's some goodies. There's quite a few goodies, actually. Now, we've cleared all that out, let's head out into this cool big circular room with baddies. Now, my method for this is shoot. Stay back. It's N-1 on the platforms, so you open the doors, don't jump over to get to the alien snappers. Stay in the room you're in, and shoot them from range with the blaster, then break the... whatever that thing is, jump over, do the next ones, because these little orbs unlock the doors, and the aliens are just guarding them. Kill the aliens, break the orb, go to platform, kill the aliens, go to platform, break the orb, kill the aliens, go to platform, and you're there. Now, for this, you're rewarded with a boss fight, and it's... I'm not keen on this boss fight. It's not hard by any means, it's actually too easy. The boss has a few attacks, and when you get her down to a certain amount of health, she runs away and summons a bunch of helpers. And like, it's the first boss fight in the game, so I'm willing to forgive how simple and easy it is, but it feels like it shouldn't have been the first boss fight in the game, and therefore should have been better. What I think they should have done is had a carriage on the train with a boss on it, and that should have been the first boss, even if it was like this type of setup where you've got to just evade it. And I appreciate maybe the train wouldn't have worked in terms of physical spacing for a boss fight, but then have it at the station after the train. But I still think there should have been a boss fight there and this shouldn't have been the first boss fight. I mean, the boss fights in this game in general aren't amazing. I like the Quark boss fight, that's really good, and the final boss is excellent, but the beastie on Umbris is kind of unimpressive, you know, it's better than this though. This is just kind of disappointing. Once you get through the boss fight, you meet Fred. Yes, that's actually his name, I didn't make it up. You save him from these little froges, and Fred says that he'll give us a pair of grind boots, or rather, will sell us a pair of grind boots.
How about I sell you these? At cost!
Again, it's another insight into the world and how capitalistic everything is. This is an accentuated version of modern capitalism. Everything has cost. Nothing is free, and it's really interesting to see that and how it affects the people of the game. And yeah, it's a light-hearted children's game, so it's not like they're living in slums and they're all really... they're going, oh, life is... woe is me. No, they're all pretty cheerful about it, but maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's become so normalised that saving someone's life isn't enough for a reward. You've still got to pay for it. And I think that's a brilliant bit of writing. perhaps I'm praising this game more than it deserves for its writing and its themes. I think it's clever. Maybe I'm just being sentimental, but we'll discuss that later. Anyway, I could tell you how the grind boots function, or you could just watch, because this is fun. And you go whoosh. It doesn't look particularly exciting here, but once you get more jumping between them and stuff, it gets really interesting, and it's good fun. The next route is locked behind a trespass puzzle, but once you open it, it's the first of a few short stages where Clank ventures somewhere else without Ratchet. And these sections are always really good, because while most of the game focuses on fast-paced shooting and platforming action, Clank's stages are more about slowing down, appreciating the cold vastness of space, and how small Clank is compared to everything else, and solving puzzles. It's much more of a puzzly bit. Yeah, this section's quite easy, it just introduces us to the Clank sections. I think this was a good place to introduce Clank sections. In fact, I think focusing more on the Clank section for this level and having the boss fight earlier would have improved this level to actually one of my favourite levels in the game. So, one of the main gameplay mechanics in Clank sections is Gadgetbots. They're little robots that can turn into bridges, they can turn into springboards, and they're there to help Clank get from A to B. And in some of the later Clank levels, you can accrue a small legion of them.
I know we couldn't Skype tonight, but that's alright. Good night, girl. I'll see you tomorrow.
Go through this section with Clank and get back to Ratchet. The puzzles in Clank's stages do become more challenging, but it's still a kid's game. When I say puzzles in this game, don't think Sudoku's Return of the Obra Dinn type puzzles. I'm talking very basic logic puzzles, but even the Trespasser puzzles later on in the game, there was a degree to which I was genuinely having to think about them and wasn't just spinning the wheels, you know? Now, at the end of the path, Clank finds the Hydro Displacer. Now, I'll talk more about that when it actually comes into use, but first, can we just appreciate the cheeky sound that Clank makes when he picks it up? He's so full of character. He is such a mischievous character. Because normally he's the intelligent, calm, collected one, and Ratchet is stupid, violent, and hot-headed. But it makes him more three-dimensional. He's more than just his basic character traits. But we're still not done, because there is one last thing to do. And across from the entrance to the Clank stage, we are going to get in this little shuttle. We're going to park at the like this big warship thing. This bit is really short. Run along a brief linear gauntlet of enemies until you reach the end, where push a big button that initiates self-destruct, and run out. Within a short window of time, there is a timed section here. So, yeah, run. On leaving the pod, we're greeted by a little infobot with a news article from Rilgar, Blackwater City on Rilgar. Do you remember that? Yes, Skid's agent mentioned it. This news thing is hosted by Darla Grax. Now, she is another recurring character. She shows up a couple of times in this game as a newsreader, and I really like... This might be my favourite infobot in the game. I really like it. Just watch.
This is Darla Gratch reporting live from Blackwater City. We've just learned that Captain Quark will be presenting the grand prize at the Intergalactic Hoverboard Championship, which will be held here over the next few days. In related news, this planet has recently been suffering from an infestation of strange amoeboid creatures. The city's administration has assured this reporter that every step has been taken to eradicate these nuisances. Darla Gratch, Channel 2 News.
So, now we're moving on to Rilgar, which is, without a doubt, one of my favourite planets. I think it might be my second favourite planet after Pokotaru. Arriving, we take the left path and almost immediately meet the absolute easiest enemy in the game. The tank is completely effortless to take down because you just stand at distance and shoot it with a blaster. This is not a tank. This is tissue paper. It's rolled up in a ball. The tanks should be harder. They didn't fix that in the reboot either. The other enemies I want to mention, for reasons that will become apparent later, we're adding them to the list, are the amoeboids. They don't technically die in one hit. You hit them once, and then they divide in two. hit them again and they split once again into smaller ones, and then you've got 4. It takes 1 hit to divide them, so I'm counting it. After fighting through a couple of soldiers and some amoeboids, we meet the Rhino dealer.
Rhino for your robot. Trade you.
Well, okay.
Ratchet!
I'm kidding. Sorry, he's not for sale. What's a rhino anyway?
Rip ya a new one.
What did you just say to me?
R-Y-N-O. Rip ya a new one.
Why, that's the most powerful missile launcher in the galaxy. I know it's worth a lot of bolts. He must have stolen it from the Blarg.
Stolen? Look, trash can. Did I say's anything about it being hot? You better watch your mouth or I'll...
Wait, don't tell me. Rip you a new one.
The Rhino is sufficiently expensive that on this playthrough, where I completed all the objectives but didn't do all the collecting side content, I was unable to afford it. So we head through the next area into a little puzzle section where you step on the pressure plates on the floor to open up the lasers. There's a couple more tanks, and then we reach her, Starlene, the host of the hoverboard races. Here we can use the hoverboard we got from Skid McMarks to compete in the hoverboard races. The cut to the race when you enter is really quite abrupt, although many things in this game are, like boss fights. I did find it a little strange, and it is jarring, so we're adding abruptness to the list of things that I don't actually like about this game. And you know what? The reboot does it as well. There's a section, we'll talk about it more when we get to it, but there is a section, a boss fight against Quark, spoiler alert. Yeah, it just, greetings cadet, and then there's a boss fight. It's just, mention it most of the time, but abruptness, list of things that annoy me about this game. The race itself is hard. I struggle with these races. I struggled with them when I was a kid, I struggle with them now. But they're really fun. They are so much fun. I really enjoy doing the hoverboard races in these games. And when you win, a message appears from Captain Quark, but it's clearly pre-recorded, but no one says anything. I'm really upset. And we're given the Platinum Zoomerator as a reward. We can use this gadget to turn tricks and flips that we do in hoverboard races into boost energy.
This evening, I will perform...
I genuinely killed time just playing the races over and over again. They are so good. I really enjoy the hoverboard races in these games. I have always found that the boost can be a little temperamental, like you'll press the button and it won't think you've pressed it politely enough, or haven't awaited what's comfortable for it, and it won't activate, so I still don't know the conditions to activate the boost. Like, it doesn't always have to be full, but then sometimes when it's half empty it won't activate, so that's a bit weird, but other than that, it is good fun. With that out of the way, we head back to the beginning and take the other route. You know how it goes, platforming combat. However, this is where we first use the Hydro Displacer. We can use it to empty this pool area, run across and fill up the next pool. I love the water in this game, especially on Poketaru, which I'm going to keep getting excited about until we get there. But the water is gorgeous, even on the PS2. I think it looks lovely, and it's so simple and pretty. And also, when you go underwater, the music gets muffled. It's just brilliant. It's such a small detail, but I love it. This next section is actually one of the hardest in the game for some reason. I don't know why. The water level is continuing to rise, and you basically have to outrun it. When you finally do get through, we open a shortcut between this location and Starlene. We also meet Quark gives us the info bot for his secret base on planet Umbris.
Captain Quark?
What's that?
It's Ratchet and Clank, Captain. You know, from the...
Oh, yes, I know who you are.
You do?
Yes, and thank the galaxy you found me.
Huh?
There's an awful plot being hatched to destroy our planets.
Ratchet, he knows.
Great. Does that mean we can go hoverboarding now?
My friends, we're all in grave danger, and I believe that together we can put a stop to this madness.
Together? You mean you want our help?
Look, Ratchet, I've been keeping an eye on you. I've never seen anyone with such raw talent. You are a true hero in the making.
Really? You mean I could be famous?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, here, take this. Meet me at my headquarters.
What do you think?
Baba Booey.
Welcome to my challenge course. Now is your chance to prove yourself strong and brave, like me.
Umbris is great because it's set up as an actual challenge gauntlet. Now, I know I've said Gauntlet of Enemies, Challenge Gauntlet, Platforming Gauntlet, like, several times already. But this is an actual challenge gauntlet. It's a series of themed challenges. It's got actual turrets that you can't destroy, you can just temporarily disable, and these mines that slowly begin to appear in larger and larger packs. It also introduces this kind of 3-switch puzzle where you have to run over a certain amount you have to run over 3 pressure plates in a certain amount of time, otherwise they all switch off and you have to restart. Then I fucking drowned. So once we've done all of that again, we get to do a little Hydro Displacer puzzle. And we've done it. You can already see I'm starting to get rather lackluster about describing stuff in this game. And yeah, I am. It's basic gameplay. I haven't really got much to say about it. It's just going through the motions of getting to the story beats right now. But the game does have good gimmicks, which I do want to point out, and just give you a gist of what the game is like. But we do now have a great story reveal. So, Quark reveals that he's actually the spokesperson for Chairman Drek's planet, and this is the kind of big end of Act 1 twist. We were given clues to work out earlier on, and it's obvious, because it's not like Breaking Bad, really subtle things that are left there for a season and a half. No, it was a fucking obvious silhouette, but on your first playthrough of the game, you might not notice. But other than that, it's a pretty well delivered character moment. In fact, possibly because of that. Because that happened, that makes sense that that happened. You know? Unfortunately, we are then thrust rather briefly and abruptly into a boss fight with the Snagglebeast, and I mentioned it earlier on with the hoverboard races, but it is something about this game that does bother me, and it's how just abrupt so many things seem. Anyway, boss fight with the Snagglebeast. You have to shoot at him and dodge his attacks until he raises a shield, then lead him over to this bridge, and he falls into the lava. Sizzly ow. It's not amazing, it's something to do, it's kind of fun. Once we escape the boss room, we find an info bot for planet Battalia, which is under attack by the Blarg. But Ratchet has other ideas. He doesn't care anymore. He doesn't care about being a hero of the galaxy. He wants to kill Quark. He wants to get revenge. And he's pissed off at Clank because it's Clank's fault they ended up in that situation. And this is great, because in some other games that are worse written, and written by idiots, David Cage, Clank saying this would probably have Ratchet sit down and go, "Oh, you're right, I'm angry at Quark, and I'm sorry for taking it out on you, buddy." But Ratchet rightfully reacts with anger, because these guys are little more than acquaintances. Sure, they've been to a few planets together, and they've been on a ship together for a while, but in that time, what deep conversation are they going to have had where they shared intimate facts about each other, you know? The gameplay from here on out, there's a bit where it does start to feel a bit tedious, like it's dragging on, but the stakes begin to ramp up and the story improves. So I think it's alright, I think it's worth it. And also there's a little bit of backtracking to previous planets, very little, like I think 2 planets that you go back to, that you have to leave and then come back to, and I don't think that's enough for this game to be called Metroidvania, but it is good, I like it. Landing on Battalia, we meet the commander from the infobot, and he tells us that we need to get to the turret and destroy the bombers above the planet. Ratchet snaps at Clank for being kind-hearted, because that is something that a mentally stable person would do, you know. This shows us that our protagonist isn't a pretty boy hero. He's not a nice, kind, sweet guy all the time. In fact, he's a complete arsehole. The first route on Umbris is this long grind rail section, and it's brilliant. I actually love it eternally. It's such good fun. It also introduces the idea of having physical obstacles on our route that we have to jump over or destroy. At the end of it, we meet a member of the Commando's battalion. He's just a little soldier, and he fled the battle. He says,
"I joined the army to get money to go to college. I never knew I'd end up in a war."
So we give him some bolts so he can get a bus fare home, and he'll give us the infobot to planet Gaspar in return. And Gaspar is the Blarg testing facility. But we're not ready to go there yet because we're not done here. So first off, we fight our way to the turret, at which point we get told by the commando that we can't get any further. We can't get any further because we don't have Magnaboots. However, for our bravery, the commando rewards us with an infobot containing a video from Chairman Drek about the pollution on the Blarg homeworld. It also contains the coordinates for the Blarg homeworld, planet Auxon. The nice Gadgetron help desk lady tells us that she doesn't detect any Magnaboots, so we'll need to go to another planet to get them.
You've shown bravery by making it this far, soldier, and for that I reward you. I intercepted this communique that you might find useful. Take it. I'm off to find my battalion. Good luck.
Now do you understand why we must stop him? He won't rest until he has destroyed every planet in the galaxy.
Next up, we're heading to Gaspar. This is the point in the game where everything starts to feel a bit like busy work, and I suppose that's inevitable in the mid-section of the game, you've got a bit of a rut. It's still better than so many modern AAA games. I cannot stress that enough. Obviously there are exceptions. The planets like Pokataru, which I keep mentioning, is excellent. Auxon does have its own unique spin on gameplay. I don't know, I don't enjoy Auxon or Gaspar as levels. I think they are my least favourite levels in the game. So, yeah, they just don't feel as nice to be in as Kerwan or Iridia. And maybe that's supposed to be. It's supposed to make you feel like you're stuck in a hostile environment. First off though, Gaspar to get the pilot's helmet, and this is the one planet I think could genuinely be omitted from the game, and maybe we need it, but the pilot's helmet is needed to fly fighter jets later on in the game. Things like on Pokataru, there's the jet that you use to shoot out the hydro harvesters, and I genuinely don't think it's necessary. I think that I could be perfectly happy thinking that Ratchet just gets in the ship and flies it with his hands instead of or whatever. I don't fully understand the pilot's helmet, and I don't actually think it's necessary. And also this was the point in the game when I unlocked the Devastator and noticed the most lag spikes with explosions on the screen, but that is a thing exclusive to the PS3 HD remaster. The PS2 version doesn't do it. It doesn't have the graphic glitches either, so I'm not counting that. Yeah, fight through a gauntlet of enemies to get to the pilot's helmet. The interesting thing about this level is the doors that you shoot out with turrets. That is all I have to say about them. They are a thing that's there. Although, once you get the pilot's helmet, there is this cool secret route behind it, which is fine, I guess. It's kind of fun. And you are rewarded with a gold bolt and some ammo after fighting through what can only be described as a veritable Reich of enemies. It's extraordinarily difficult, and I don't know why. I could take it or leave it. Honestly, this level, I could take it or leave it. If this game got remade, not Ratchet 2016 remade, but like redone properly, I don't think the pilot's helmet was necessary. I don't think I'd miss it if the planet was gone, and this is the one planet that I think the reboot does do better. And if the game was remade today, I don't think I'd be sad to see Auxon missing. I mean, maybe for the sake of being faithful to the original, I want them to keep it in. And yes, I would absolutely like for the reboots and remakes to have all the levels from the original. That's all there is to Gaspar. It's a really short planet, and it's fine. I just think it could be omitted. But next up is the Blarg homeworld, Auxon. And it's nowhere near, it doesn't feel like a wasted opportunity like Gaspar does. In fact, I don't like it, but I think it is a good level. So, when you arrive, the atmosphere is too toxic for Ratchet to explore in, so guess what? Clank level. It's basically like the last Clank section, but bigger. You do the same things over and over again, and it's fun to play, but it's kind of hard to describe because it's so repetitive. So, lots and lots of Gadgetbots, small platforms, big obstacles to try and escape. There's one route, there's another route, there's a war zone or something. I don't know what this exploding stuff is, I don't know what's going on with that. At the end of this section, well, let me show you.
Better not let Ratchet see this one.
When we get back to the ship, Ratchet is suspicious, and rightly so. I'm suspicious, I want to know what's going on, Clank. So, Clank gives Ratchet the Magna Boots. Which is groovy, but Ratchet knows something's not right. So Clank hands over the infobot.
What do you have in there?
Gears, metal filings, dust.
You know what I mean. What is it?
I will show you this, but you must promise to stay focused on our mission.
Is it something about Quark?
Cities are full of smog, swamps are full of muck, and tar pits are full of tar. But here at Joe I Resort, the sun shines 24 hours a day. Visitors get a free O2 mask to explore our warm waters. The benign marine life will welcome you to the big blue world under the sea. You can also use our complimentary flippers to partake in speed swimming. So come to Joe I Resort and leave your world and your troubles behind.
So now, we have my favourite infobot, with coordinates containing my favourite planet in the game.
Joe I Resort, Pokitaru.
I knew it.
I love Pokitaru, because, first of all, I just love chilling in the water as a kid. And this is something I did in the reboot as well, it's just, relax, it's a tropical island paradise, you know? And the reboot does do this level better, apart from characters, but in terms of just how the game looks and feels, it is better, and that's inevitable with the modern tech. The water in the PS4 reboot is spectacular. I am astounded by how good it looks. But before we get to go and relax on the beach, we have to go back to Planet Iridia and give the race prize to Skid's agent, because we haven't done that yet. He gives us the Sonic Summoner in return. Now, I didn't use it, but it's good. It's this helmet that you put on, and if you find a little sand mouse thing in every level, you recruit him and he follows you around and shoots things, and he's vicious. Like, he will massacre. I don't even think I've got footage of him because I don't think I ever used him. But I did use him when I played it originally, and he is a fantastic addition to your arsenal. Okay, got that out of the way. Now that we've actually flown to Jawai Resort, we are greeted by the resort owner, who is actually my favourite one-off character in the game. I love him, he's amazing. He's just charming and funny. The resort owner tells us that this hydro harvester is taking water from the planet, and if we can escort him to the other end of the resort, we can use his jet fighter to destroy them. It's fun, I really like this level. In terms of gameplay, the actual escorting him isn't particularly exciting, you know, it's just get on the skiff, kill the piranha fish things as they try and get on the skiff, which is harder than it looks. I got absolutely mauled by these things, time and time again. And then when you get to the end, just go talk to the resort owner, and he tells you, ha ha ha, bamboozled, it's locked. So you go into Bob's Robo Shack, he's Al's brother, and he kits you out with a thruster pack. Way to one-up your sibling. It decimates. It's so cool. It has this entire ground pound ability where you fly up into the air and then plummet back down to activate a switch. It's awesome, and I love it. Anyway, we use that to open up the garage and get in the ship and destroy the hydro harvesters. Now, I kind of wish you could continue to fly around the skies afterwards, but there isn't really much point in it, so I'm not surprised that you can't. Regardless, after defeating the Blarg, the resort owner gives us the O2 mask, which is good because it means we can go back and breathe on Auxon. It also allows us to breathe underwater, so I can go explore the underwater, and I do. I love Pokitaru. It's my favourite level. It also means that we can explore the waterworks under the compound. Now this is a really fun puzzle section with amoeboids, things like that. And at the end of it, we meet Fred again. What's he doing here? He says, I want a very elusive secret substance. He's actually asking you for some raritanium, and we'll have to come back and give it to him later. But we don't have any raritanium. I swear to God, man, when I'm old, I'm going to retire to a Caribbean island with like 3 people living on it, and I'm going to erect a small wooden shack. I'm just going to sit on the porch of it with I'm going to sit on the porch with a guitar and a rocking chair and a bottle of whiskey that I never drink from, but it's always like half empty, and I'm just on the rocking chair with my guitar. This level is the reason I was excited for the Ratchet and Clank reboot, and I was honestly really worried when I heard that they were going to omit some levels, and I'm really glad to see that aside from the resort owner, who I am unhappy about them omitting, I'm glad to see that it made the change relatively unharmed, and in fact, in some cases, I say, better. Alright, now that we've got the O2 mask, Ratchet can safely explore Oxen, so let's go back there. And this is a really cool development, I think, because the Oxen starts off feeling kind of weird in shape and size and restrictive when you're playing as Clank, but as soon as you're back with the Ratchet, it opens up. I mean, really, it feels so much bigger. It's also really fucking hard, and I hate it. There's 2 paths. 2 new paths anyway. So, we fly down this little platformy thing, and then we're kind of at a fork in the road. And there's a Gadgetron vendor, and it's a checkpoint, and that's good, because goddamn, it never ends. There's ships, there's everything. It doesn't stop. Please, I'm begging, have mercy. On the left, there's lots of platforms and hard stuff, but it's worth it because you're rewarded with a nanotech upgrade. Now, it goes from 4 nanotech bubbles to 5 nanotech bubbles to 6 nanotech bubbles. It costs a few thousand bolts. Now, going back the other way, also this is, it ends up cutting into Clank's area, which I thought was nice. It's cool. The other route, which is just as excruciating as the first because you just keep dying over and over and over again, it takes blood, sweat, tears, and ammo, and culminates in an infobot for planet Hoven. Drek is basically going to completely blow up Hoven, for one reason or another. And at this point, we do get some character development, because we see that Ratchet, after learning that Drek is actually nuts and evil and cretinous, Ratchet realizes that he's the one who needs to do something, because no one else is going to. But it delivers this moment without compromising who Ratchet is as a character. When Clank says a sentimental thing, he gets defensive, and he's still very much the almost mercenary arsehole, but he's realised he needs to do something, and that is good character development, because it's character development without sacrificing who the character is, and I appreciate that. Off we go to Planet Hoven. Righty-ho then, Hoven. Hoven is a great level for so many reasons. It has level gimmicks, it has an excellent nail-biting soundtrack that actually kind of, it pushes you along. It's go, go, go. It feels like the planet's about to be destroyed, because the planet is about to be destroyed. The next thing about this level is it's the ice level. Every game needs an ice level, it's fact. Because it's an ice level, there's icy patches, which are slippy, hard to walk on. This gets reused later on in Altanis. If we take this route behind the ship, we actually get one of my favourite non-Poketaru sections of the game. It's a really intense bit of puzzle platforming, with lots of ice to slip and slide, and a fair few tri-switch puzzles, and lasers, and oh Jesus Christ. But when we reach the end of it, we meet this miner guy he's got a drill, and his drill's broken. And Ratchet's a mechanic, so he's like, oh yeah, let me look at your drill. And he goes, oh, it's broken, you can't fix it. And Ratchet goes, dink, dink, and fixes it, because he's magic. And the miner goes, oh, cool, I'm sorry, the only thing I've got to pay you with is this, like, mineral called raritanium. And, like, I know, who would want that? I was like, oh, yeah, I feel like I've heard that somewhere before. It probably wasn't important. Anyway, back to saving the planet. The planet is about to get destroyed. We have to do something about that, so immediately I got sidetracked again. That's priorities. There's this nice, cool hydro displacer section off to the side. We find Edwina. who gives us the Hydro Pack upgrade for Clank, which is a bit late now. We've done the water level, I don't need it anymore, but could be useful. But I will also forgive how late it is for this alone. These two absolute lads are fighting over a girl. This is an experience I haven't had, because women don't give me attention.
Jealous?
After that distraction, what was it we were doing? I've forgotten what we were doing. Oh yeah, we were stopping a planet being destroyed. So at the end of this much more standard path, enemies, platforming, etc., we find a turret with which to destroy the death ship.
We are too late. The ship is leaving.
Hang on, there's an old defense turret over there. Hey, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
I sincerely doubt it.
Men, you are about to embark on a very dangerous mission. We will be launching a heavily armed surprise attack from our new moon base against a completely unarmed planet. Actually, that doesn't sound too dangerous. Nevertheless, your orders are simple. Destroy anything that moves. Steal the power generators from Gorda City. Then destroy anything that doesn't move. Oh, and don't forget, have fun.
We must get to the moon base and stop Drek.
No! We have to get to the moon base to find Quark. If Drek is there, Quark is probably with him.
But Drek is going to destroy that city. We must get to the base.
That's what I said!
No, that is what I said.
Fine.
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 Alright, what? Drek's just outright committing genocide and our boys are still fighting? Don't we have bigger problems? Look, I simultaneously love and hate this bit, because it feels completely fitting to something Ratchet would do, He has proved up to this point that he is absolutely the type of guy to do that. But even with that kind of character trait, I feel like they'd be able to put their differences aside for just long enough to sort out this problem, even if it meant fighting again later. Before continuing the plot, we do have a couple of detours to make. First off, we are going to head back to Battalia, because we can now walk along the rail, because we've got the Magna Boots. And we get to meet the plumber again. So we get to play with the turret, which is cool, and we blast down some ships out of the sky. And once we've done so, the plumber gives us the bolt detector. It's pretty good for farming bolts if you need some in a hurry, but if I'm honest with you, the best thing about this tool is what he says about his grandfather.
What a cheap old man he was.
The other thing we need to do is run back to Pocataro and give Fred this raritanium that we got on Hoven. And for that he gives us the Persuader. It gives us a discount on weapons and ammo from Gadgetron vendors. It's kind of like honey, but for Ratchet and Clank. Speaking of honey, that leads us on to today's sponsor. No, big company, please give me money. Thank you. Alright, after that humdinger of a joke, it's time to head to Gremlick Base. This is the section where we get to kind of explore the vastness of space, except we're not. But it feels like we are. Also, if you jump off the edge, you just plummet, which that wouldn't happen. The music is actually really eerie for this section. It's kind of spooky, and it almost reminds me of that bit of Alien Isolation, where you walk along the rail and press a button and go back. Unfortunately, it does kind of feel like I'm running out of things to say now. There's still a bit of story to go, and the gameplay is fun. I don't feel like I'm representing that. This game is fun to play, but there's only so many times you can say jump on the platforms and shoot the men. What is cool is now we get a spaceship boss fight at the end of Voltanis. An actual spaceship boss fight. It's against Quark. Quark talks over a lot of it. Over, like, really low quality speakers, and I don't know why. I mean, it's not like this issue would put anyone off playing the game, but add it to the list. I don't know why he has to talk over it so much. I mean, that's the thing the reboot took on. There's no music to hold up the boss fight. I mean, for a game that had really good music, the one boss fight where there's a guy talking over it all doesn't have any? I don't understand. Still, it is fun to see Quark crash on the planet. An infobot shows us a news article. Darla! Darla, you're alright! Hello! Well, apart from that sparky finger and the Alzheimer's patient in the background, but you're alright. After this, we get another nice bit of Ratchet's character development that kind of ushers in the third act.
Look, maybe you were right. This is a lot bigger than you or me. I was really selfish focusing on Quark.
It is not too late to stop Drek.
Hey, yeah! We've got this new ship! Let's go get him!
Now you are talking.
I really like Ratchet's character development in this game because it feels like it's drawn out over the game. It's not just forced into one 2-minute cutscene. Oh god, I'm gonna keep making jabs at Ratchet and Clank 2016 until we get there. But yeah, his mood and opinions do slowly change until the final bit of the game, when he's actually a hero instead of an arsehole mechanic. Altanus is suffering a heavy thunderstorm that knocks Clank out of commission, so we have to do this one ourselves. It shouldn't be too bad, but it kicked my ass over and over and over again, and I don't know whether I was just tired while I was playing, or whether this level is actually really difficult, but over and over I just kept dying. This level has everything. Traps, death drops, vicious enemies, ice grappling hook sections. I can't.
And then at the end, we are rewarded with a Morpho Ray, right?
It's a gun that turns enemies into chickens. Haha, funny, quirky gun. The only other thing we get is a cutscene against this deaf guy. And it's a really good cutscene, actually. Look, there's one last thing to do on this planet, and then we can fucking leave. It's another platforming challenge with ice, and at the end we meet Captain Quark. Sorry, Steve. He set up his shack pretty quick, given how recently he crashed. It's another one of those things like Gaspar. I don't feel like it's an issue that he's here on this planet in the game, and I think it's funny to see him try and have an alter ego.
The Gadgetron PDA.
Public display of affection?
No, personal delivery assistant. This device allows you to purchase ammunition wherever and whenever you want it.
Yeah? How do I know it works?
You can always trust Gadgetron quality, or my name's not Steve.
Next up is Quartu, the site of the robot factory. Now this is something I really like about Quartu in this game, is that it's just another planet that they decided to have the factory on. It's not on the Blargian homeworld, which is how it is in the reboot, where it's just Blarg homeworld, also robot factory, also everything. It's just, but Blargian homeworld feels abandoned in this game, and that fits because they say it's abandoned, and it feels it. And they've just put the robot factory elsewhere. We also find some kind of enlarging machine on this planet that scientists built it. Holy fuck, I'm the Iron Giant. I am literally a god.
All of you vermin, cowering in the dirt, thinking, what, I wonder, that you might escape the coming fire? No, your world will burn until its surface is but glass, for your destruction is the will of the gods. And I am their instrument.
Anyway, it's a really cool section which reverses the roles of our heroes, with Ratchet being the small weak one sitting on Clank's back and Clank fucking decimating everything. It's really fun, and I'm really disappointed that he didn't come back. Like, why didn't he come back? Bring back Giant Clank. This scientist who built this enlarging machine also gives us the infobot for planet Kalibo 3. It's the location of the Gadgetron headquarters.
Maybe this'll help.
New! From Gadgetron, the makers of weapons and other fine products, comes the Hollow Guys. With the Hollow Guys, you can fool robots into thinking you're one of them.
Welcome to Kalibo 3. It's kind of being invaded right now, which is pretty cringe, not gonna lie. For starters, it's gorgeous. Secondly, it's flooded. Thirdly, there's this grind rail section, and it's got, like, trains on it, and I don't understand, where are the trains coming from? Where are they going? What's these? It's dead ends. I don't understand what's happening here. But if you go down one path, there's a cool secret area where you meet the Gadgetron help desk lady. Yeah, this is why I told you to remember it earlier, because, yeah, we get to meet her. This is why I thought it was important. That's all. Going the other way, there's just a regular combat platforming section, and at the end of it you meet the Gadgetron CEO, which is cool. Gadgetron's CEO is a cool guy. He's very relaxed because there's an invasion happening, but he makes the weapons. He owns the weapons company, and he has no reason to worry because all of his weapons are weapons of mass destruction, and I've been using them to violate the Geneva Convention for the past 10 hours. He wants us to do a hoverboard race to unlock the gadget that allows us to enter the Warbot factory. And yeah, can we not just have it? We are kind of in a hurry, but sure, we'll do a hoverboard race.
I think I got the wrong guy.
Now that we're back on Quartu, we can use the Holo Guys to disguise ourselves as a robot and get through the building. Now this is pretty groovy because, you know, being able to sneak past a bunch of robots is good. Using this very highly tactical strategy, we sneak through until we reach a cutscene. But before I talk about the cutscene, I do have to talk about the gameplay, because this is a gimmick. It's really fun. It's simple, and you can't jump while you're using a Holo Guys, so you have to pick your timings to platform and switch back. Platform, switch. It's not exactly Metal Gear Solid, but it's fun. At the end of that, there's the cutscene, and it's one of the best cutscenes in any game ever, in my opinion. Just watch.
That should do it.
Mom?
Oh, brother.
I tried, Mom. I know.
Hey, look! A sister!
Bruh. This pathetic lump of a planet. See you then.
Ratchet, are you all right?
He is going to pay!
Excuse me?
It shouldn't have taken me this long to see it! Drek is going to find out what happens when you mess with my home! What are you smiling at?
This is the Ratchet I always knew was there.
Okay, if we're gonna do this, we need to get onto Drek's ship. And then we can find out where he set up that laser.
I will try to make you proud, Mom.
And it's incredible how some text on a screen can elicit a greater response than an entire team of professional writers and a huge orchestra can. This cutscene isn't without flaws, though. I love the character of Clank's mum, but I can't stop wondering, why does she exist? How did this happen? Like, did she just develop AI at some point? Like, how's that a thing? And also, why not just go on strike? Why not just stop churning out warbots? Why create a malfunctioned warbot in the hopes that it'll go save the galaxy? Why not make one of the big warbots intelligent? I don't understand fully, but I don't really need to. It's whimsical, it's childlike, it's basic early 2000s computer game. It doesn't have to make coherent sense, alright? This is it. This is the final showdown. There is a short section in Veldin's orbit where we have to take down some of Drek's turrets on one of his many warships. It has a cool dogfighting section, a stealth element, and some combat and platforming. It's kind of a culmination of everything we've been building towards. And then we head down to Veldin and run the same gauntlet of everything that we ran at the start of the game, except dialed up to 11. And we have to go further, and it's harder, and there are so many more enemies. And it shows us just how much we've grown since the beginning of the game. And it lends to this feeling of massive build-up for huge payoff. And it's really good. I love it. And the final boss fight is against Chairman Drek. He's in a giant robot. At the beginning of the boss fight, you play as Giant Clank. You give him some good wallops, you beat him up a bit, you throw some haymakers, and then he turns Clank back with a laser ray. So, we've got to do this classic style. We fight him over some platforms that crumble into dust, and eventually make it to the last one where he's got this big button that he presses that activates the big destroy the planet array. Every now and then you have to go over and power slam it to stop him from actually destroying the planet, all the while balancing attacking him and being on this grind rail and attacking him on the grind rail and dealing with all the mobs he spawns, and it's really difficult. I'm not ashamed to say that this kicked my ass many times, but we defeat Drek, and, well, the credits roll.
Ratchet? What's up? You know, this time I am thinking what you're thinking.
It's a brilliant ending, and of course the dynamic duo aren't gonna part ways just like that. They've been through too much together. Oh, and also there's this really cool post-ending credit scene.
Do you have a problem with unwanted hair? Is painful itching in your nether regions causing you undue embarrassment? Do you just plain stink? Then you need this, the Gatatron Personal Hygienitor. Hi, I'm Steve McQuark, and this little baby can take care of any grooming needs that are just too much trouble for you to handle yourself. Allow me to demonstrate. Yeah. Oh, mommy.
Turn it off! Turn it off!
The original Ratchet and Clank was a game of its time. It's a simple, charming action platformer about two heroes going on an adventure in space. It had some clunky controls, and the writing wasn't amazing, but given what it was, a new IP in a pretty competitive market with some massive franchises to compete with, games like Jak and Daxter, which came out the year before, or Crash and Spyro, which came out in 1996 and 1998 respectively, and had had several sequels by this time. Taking all that information into account, it was far better than it had any reason to be. Regardless, it's a hugely important franchise to me, and a lot of other people. With that said, Ratchet and Clank 2016 opens with a cutscene in prison. We're introduced to Shiv Helix, a completely inconsequential character who is going to prison for some undisclosed crime. We don't know what it is and don't really care. All this is actually, it's a framing device for Captain Quark to tell his story. And this is also under not just in prison, but under the pretense that they're making a film about a holo film and corresponding holo game based on the events that led to Captain Quark being in jail. I don't really see the reason for framing it like that, despite having played the game. I think it's completely pointless. Originally, I figured it was like a way of setting up that the game's protagonist was unreliable and what the events of the game aren't actually what happened, but nah, it's like he's completely honest about all his flaws and how Ratchet and Clank were the heroes, even though that's absolutely nothing like what the real Captain Quark would do. Whatever. The title card plays, and we're introduced to Ratchet in his garage. Why is he sneaking, though? That's kind of dumb. Well, this isn't Ratchet's garage. Instead, he's got some stupid Guardian character called Grim. Anyway, the Galactic Rangers, who are a group of utter arseholes led by Captain Quark, they're holding tryouts on Veldin. Yeah, I thought it was a desolate wasteland, but no, apparently not. I suppose now is a good time to mention that I played this game on New Game Plus, because most of this footage is just glorified B-roll, and I only need the cutscenes. So you'll see me with fully upgraded weapons and playing on fast mode because I've got all the gold bolts. It just helped me get this done quicker, and honestly, I needed that. I started off playing with invincibility and infinite ammo, but I think in the end I turned those off. So I ran around Grim's garage, bashed all the crates, used the bolt crank to open the garage door, and he just lets us go. I mean, I thought he wanted help with... Oh, for God's sake, it doesn't matter. So go outside, attack these blue frog things. Introduction to melee combat, it's fine, just like the original. Also, I am gonna heap praise on this game for looking good, because it does look good. I mean, even after 4 years, this game stands up on looks alone. And although, as much as I object to the phrase, Pixar come to life, they aren't wrong, There's so many particle effects on screen at any one time. It is spectacular and just gorgeous. Alright? Every level looks fantastic and vibrant. I know it looks good in trailers, but can the motion blur be optional? Because there is nothing less pleasant than running around in a game and every time I turn, I almost throw up. Like, the original game didn't have any of that, and it ran at fucking 60 frames per second on a PS2. This runs at 30 frames per second, and that is masked with motion blur. Sure, you can have it in the trailers, you can even have it in the actual game, but make it optional. I wanted to turn this off so badly. It makes the game look slick in trailers, but when you're actually playing it feels laggy. But you're fusing in things from a movie, and you don't want to make the same mistake that like Call of Duty World War II does, because in that the gameplay runs at 60 FPS even on consoles, and then for cutscenes it chugs down to 30 FPS to look more quote-unquote cinematic, but actually just makes me feel sick. Maybe that's a little nitpicky, but it could have run at 60, and we all know it. But I suppose it was either run at 60 or splice in sections from the film, and they went for splice in sections from the film. Okay, I suppose I'll counteract that nitpick with an inverse nitpick. I really like that the guys in the crowd are the aliens from A Crack in Time. I think that's a nice touch. So we keep moving our way through this challenge course, and then we get locked into a small arena and taught how to bash crates. Why? There have been lots of crates up until now, and I've known how to bash them. Every child playing this game knows how to bash something. It's like the first thing a child learns when they play a video game. They press all the buttons. I know, I was a child until recently. Then we learn how to use Gadgetron vendors and ranged weapons, and the game even tries to justify there being ammo left everywhere by saying that
The galaxy is a perilous place, as evidenced by the large amounts of ammunition left sitting around in crates.
But it's shown in later sections to be pretty peaceful, if not for Drek's forces. This is just pointless, so I guess why bother? The next thing in this game that I absolutely hate is the music. The music is ruined. It's this stupid orchestral thing, not like the original, which was amazing and lovely, and I'm going to keep using music from the original throughout this section underneath my voice, because that's better than using the reboot music. This is also where we find our first holo card. Now, holo cards are just this side quest in the game. You collect them and it unlocks upgrades on getting ammo and bolts from your opponents. I mean, it's kind of stupid, but also it's another thing to look for. So I guess it encourages exploration. So anyway, we get trapped in a room, fight a bunch of enemies, and I fucking massacre them because I'm playing on New Game Plus and have an actual rocket launcher with infinite ammo. What's this? Well, this game uses the ancient practice that I haven't seen since the PlayStation 1 and 2 era of splicing in clips from the movie alongside gameplay. I mean, it worked in the PlayStation 1 and 2 era because, you know, a pre-rendered cutscene was easier to look at than a low-poly, stiffly animated section done in-engine. But it seems really pointless here because this is so high-budget.
When President Vironix recommended I take on a new ranger, I knew just where to go. That's right. We want you! You don't have what it takes.
Hello. So you may notice that I am now wearing a headset, and that's where my audio is coming from. So my microphone has balked it. This is what it's going to be like for the rest of the video. I will have a new microphone that isn't going to balk it for the next video. Promise.
Wait, just give me a chance.
Sorry, no time. Galaxy in jeopardy. Get back out there. And remember, you can do anything. As long as you're me. Next! Meanwhile, on Planet Quartu.
Meanwhile on Planet Quartu. That was kind of an abrupt transition. We are now back into the in-game cutscene with present-day Prison Quark narrating. I don't understand why it had to be so sudden and so jarring, like even if it was just a blank screen with text saying back in prison, or it cuts back to being whatever. It's also really confusing because this is the first time we've heard about the villains, so they're kind of just thrown in out of nowhere, and it feels really out of place because it's assumed that we know who they are. Also, Drek, who we're supposed to know about, is introducing us to Dr. Nefarious from the third game. I mean, what's he doing here? This isn't the third game, this is the first game, except it's not. It's supposed to be the first game, but it's not. These unfocused and abrupt cutscenes are a recurring thing throughout this game. It's It just keeps happening. I will point them out every single time because I don't think it's acceptable. I just think for a game of this budget, that's just, you cannot get away with that. It's also here that we're introduced to Clank, who already has the bolts I've collected as Ratchet, even if it's on a standard new game, not even New Game Plus. So there's a short Clank stage in which we have to run away from Victor Von Ion, Drax's henchman, and in this sequence we learn that Victor's main weakness is water, and that it can be used to defeat him.
Oh no, water!
You think you can run from me?
Not that brute again.
Fucking brilliant. What did that add? It added nothing. Absolutely nothing. Anyway, yeah, this leads me on to my next point, which is that nobody in this game shuts up. They're always talking. It's so annoying. Why? Why does there constantly need to be someone talking? Is it because they're worried the little tykes will get bored? Is that what it is? It feels like that's what it is. Clank escapes and Victor shoots at the ship. Clank wants to go to the Galactic Rangers' home base. How does he know what the Galactic Rangers are? You know what, it's probably like this in his operating system. Back on Veldin, Ratchet is moping around, being all sad, because, oh, I'll never be a Galactic Ranger, boo-hoo. Ratchet in the original was proactive. He wanted to get off Veldin, so he built a fucking spaceship. Sure, it exploded, but at least he tried, instead of just moping around and complaining that life doesn't reward him for doing nothing. How entitled can you be? Another jarring transition later, we're introduced to the fact that Ratchet apparently already has a swing shot. When I learned this, I was really worried about what the challenge course on Kerwan would have to reward me with.
What's this? Fun with singularities and other cataclysmic events.
That's really more for educational purposes.
It is always good to meet a fellow academic.
Ratchet just had to teach you how to shake hands 5 minutes ago. You've been alive for maybe an hour. How are you an academic? I'm gonna hurt someone. Ratchet lies about the Galactic Rangers being his friends. This is never brought up again. So what's the fucking point? Why have your character tell a lie if they're not going to be reprimanded for it later down the line? This game has a serious case of ludonarrative dissonance. I mean, sure, there was a bit of it in the original, but this... oh, it's in overdrive. Ratchet in this game is supposed to be this cuddly, kind and nice, fluffy little good guy who wants to help people. So what reason does he have to be running around with high explosive weaponry obliterating people? You can't tell me that that is a reasonable thing to exist, right? And this is the thing, because in cutscenes he's, oh, I'm very lovely and happy, and just wants to be a hero with the Galactic Rangers, and then as soon as I'm in control, I'm violating the Geneva Convention on a regular basis. This was an issue in the original game, but it avoided being such an issue because Ratchet was kind of edgy. He was a bit of an arsehole. And he was violent in the cutscenes, like he was aggressive towards people, so it didn't feel out of place when I got in control and started hurting people. You know, that made sense to me. Here, though, it really just creates a horrible clash. I know I've just transitioned between two very seemingly different topics, but what I'm trying to show you is that this game is trying to have its cake and eat it, you know? It's trying to create a highly marketable, friendly protagonist that doesn't ever do something that could tarnish the company in any way, and I'm coming back to this, whilst still having fun shooter gameplay. This was something that even the later games in the series didn't have a problem with, because they matured in tone and had a more serious story to tell, where the bad guys were bad guys, and so it was okay to be shooting them. And even though Ratchet was more of an actual good guy, he was still Ratchet from the original. He still had that edginess to him, so it worked. Our heroes fly to the planet Novalis, and I was actually really pleased to see that this level was basically unchanged from the original. It's even got the nice little water bits to play in. Now, here's a fun thing to notice. Clank already has the Hydro Pack. How? Where did he get it? And also, why does he have a water thing if Victor Von Ion's weakness is water? What kind of fucking negligence is this? How did this happen? How did nobody on the team go, ah yeah, Hoven was cut from this game, so there's nowhere for them to acquire the Hydro Pack, and also, that means we don't even get to see these two grey lumps of plasticine try to fight over a woman. The notable changes for this and a fair few levels come not in the actual level, but in the characters. The plumber cutscene has changed. Observe.
Who's gonna save us now? Oh, hello there. I'm glad you're here. Hey, have we met before? Because I'm getting a touch of the old deja vu.
I don't think so.
Huh. Well, guess the old think tank could use a good plumbing. Anywho, I've been trying to get a distress call to the Galactic Rangers ever since Drax's forces showed up.
This entire region is overrun with Blargian dropships. We need to get you out of here.
Well, I can't go anywhere until I get this here infobot into the hands of Captain Quark.
We were on our way to speak with him when our ship was shot down. Perhaps we could take a look.
Oh, sure thing. I swapped it from one of those Blarg soldiers. Here you go.
John, I want a divorce.
Divorce.
I see you're having a little transportation trouble. Why don't I meet you by your ship? We'll get you squared away and ready to fly.
Did that guy just slide down a sewer pipe? That was awesome. Want to do it again?
Here, you see the issue with the in-game cutscenes. They're not the nice pre-rendered cinematics or the movie bits, the in-game cutscenes. These characters are completely incapable of emoting at all. They just stand there like, hello, I am Clank, this is Ratchet. It's just sad. So we go save the nephew of the planet, and he tells us that his nephew Skid McMarks is his nephew. What did that add? I guess if this was a completely new IP, I wouldn't complain about it, but it wasn't mentioned anywhere in the original game that he was his nephew. I don't understand why that was needed. Once we've talked to the mayor, we head back to our ship, and...
And so, Ratchet and Clank set out to fix their ship with the help of the plumber. Little did they know they would soon come so close to greatness, they'd be able to hear its mighty biceps ripple. But first, they'd have to tackle a brain-eating zombie T-Rex.
Hey, wait a minute. I don't recall no brain-eating zombie T-Rex.
Okay, fine. Killjoy.
I don't feel well. I feel unwell now. Next up, I went to Iridia, because the game's navigation is much faster and easier, and we don't need the helipack anymore. It's the same deal, except stiffer, and I genuinely think that's all I have to say about Iridia. There's nothing wrong with it, it just kind of is. Kerwan, on the other hand, I do have a lot to say about. It is completely fucking changed. For starters, it was called Metropolis in the original. Why the fuck is it called Alero City? This doesn't add anything to the established story. In fact, all this does is detract from the game, because it just removes consistency. I don't understand how this happened. On landing, we're immediately forced into a ship section where we've got to pick up these robots with the magnet on our ship, and then shoot at the mothership. It's easy and forgettable. We land, and Quark says that he is very proud of us, and we should be honoured. Actually, he's very jealous. A Blarg soldier tries to kill our heroes by blowing up their ship, which sends us to the beginning of the level.
Clank, look out! You all right, pal?
At least this means I'll be able to see my lover. So yeah, the assault course has been moved, like, completely. Makes the level 100% more linear because it's at the end. And that's really disappointing. So we go and meet Al.
Holy cow. I've died and gone to nerd heaven.
Okay, I know I'm asking a lot of questions, but I've got another one. What's the point in having a buddy cop style game if the two characters are just the same character. Imagine, like, Rush Hour, except it's just two Jackie Chans. I love Jackie Chan, but that would be shit. Chris Tucker is needed to contrast against Jackie Chan's almost alien view of where he is in the film. If it was just two Jackie Chans, then you've basically just got two super spurgs running around and sniffing people. I learned not to do that in year 8. And that's what this game is. It's two spurgs running around and doing nothing of note. So, we've got the helipack now, and we've got to move on to the train. It's a little longer with a few more bits and bobs to do, and I actually kind of like it, because you can knock out these pipes to kill these guys as a kind of environmental Hitman-style kill, which is a really clever idea, and I wish it had been used later on in the game, instead of just this once. We arrive at the Hall of Heroes and get a dumbass cutscene. I'm pretty sure this bitch was playing Ratchet and Clank 3, but we do have the training course to do, which means... yeah, my love, he hath returned. This course is kind of pointless, because it has nothing to reward us with, but we still have to do it for the story, which is aggressively annoying. We also get some Galactic Ranger armor, and here's the thing, I have a few questions. First off, that armor's ugly as fuck. Do we have to wear it? The answer is no, if you've got enough gold bolts to equip a different armor. So I spent much of the game with the chromium armor. But then I had the thought of, why are the Galactic Rangers blue if their leader, Captain Quark, is characterized by his green color? So, make Galactic Rangers green. Then we'd have to get Ratchet wearing green, and that looks like this. Okay, so make Captain Quark blue. And then he doesn't look like Captain Quark. Yeah, I see how you kind of wrote yourself into a corner there, guys. That was kind of, that wasn't your finest move. Now though, we do have a proper ship, and we're moving on to Rilgar. You may have noticed by now that the small repeated shot of the ship flying through space is gone, and has been replaced by a bitch-ass loading screen. Because fuck everyone and everything you love. For a little bit yet, the game is pretty unchanged. The Rhino dealer has been moved to where Quark was in the original, and he doesn't look as cool. He looked awesome in the original. He gives us the Trespasser. I actually quite like the Trespasser in this game because, as I say, I find the screen easier to look at. The way we get the Rhino from the Rhino dealer is by collecting a bunch of trading cards, instead of paying him. Again, all this does is demolish the brilliant pseudo-capitalist themes that the game worked with in the original, but sure, you know what, fine. We'll roll with it. There are a few more races on both Rilgar and Kalibo. There's a bronze, silver, and gold medal for each of them instead of just the one, and each time you go up from bronze to silver, silver to gold, it increases in difficulty by adding explosive crates and more obstacles to hit. I actually find these really fun. I think they're more fun than the original because they've got a faster pace, and the modern, sleek, easy controls do suit this better. So I'll give you that. It is kind of a shame that the announcer talks so much on both planets, and in fact, to an obnoxious degree, and the victory jingle at the end is really patronising and annoying, and I hate it, but, you know, I'll tolerate it because they're fun. And that's what I want from this game. If I can't have the good story of the original, I just want a fun game.
Rats, the pro hoverboarder suffered a minor injury while breaking ground at one of the sports shafts, but is expected to make a full recovery. Whoa, Ratchet charges ahead! Underdog Ratchet is now in second place, and he's got to take the lead. Really gave him a boost.
Nice work. You're the first Lombax to ever win a race.
Nebula G34 is actually almost completely unchanged. The Clank section feels a bit more hectic because of the music and because nobody ever shuts up, but I've got used to that by now, so. You also get the Gadgetbot upgrade chip, which means you can switch between Gadgetbots on the fly, so if you've got a Gadgetbot that's a bridge bot and you want it to be a spring bot, you just press a button and vroom. So that's nice. Nice bit of usability there. This is also where we get the Magna Boots, and what has changed about it is the fact that the boss at the end is not the Snapper thing, it is instead the Snaggle Beast that was originally on Umbris. Do you want to know why? Because Umbris has been cut from the game, as was Eudora and a few others. Unfortunately, they've removed the thing where you had to lead the Snaggle Beast to platforms to drop him into lava, and now it's just run around in circles and shoot. Though he does jump into the lava himself when he gets to a certain health level, which is a bit strange, but it's an easy fight, even without playing on God mode. Anything I say where I say it's an easy fight, that's just on normal difficulty, because all the stuff you're seeing is just B-roll. What I'm talking about is my first experience with the game. Afterwards, Quark says this.
Captain, it's Ratchet. We just defeated the Snaggle Beast and found out what Drek is up to.
You did? But that's impressive.
Which is the most obvious suggestion that he either doesn't believe in Ratchet and thinks that he's completely useless even though he's probably proved himself about 8 times over by now, or that he really wasn't expecting Ratchet to get out of there alive because he wants Ratchet dead, but either way, he's still assuming that Ratchet wouldn't have been able to beat the Snaggle Beast even though Ratchet has proved himself like 3 times over. So, Quark is an idiot too. That's another character on the list of characters who are stupid and I hate them.
Captain Quark must fly like a bird.
Gaspar has been completely changed. It starts off kind of similar, but once you get the grind boots from the original bit of the level, you go on a grind rail and find a Blarg scientist who gives us a jetpack if we bring him some telepathopus brains.
I know who you are. You're the Lombax and the Warbot from the news.
Oh, and you must be the faceless minion helping Drek terrorize the galaxy.
That's just my day job. My real passion is in amateur neuroscience. I've been collecting brains from telepathopuses as a hobby for about a year now.
When you get the jetpack, you've got an optional objective to get 60 more, and I did it. I actually really enjoy Gaspar in this game, and I definitely enjoy it more than the original, because it feels not like a wasted opportunity. It's open and big, and there's loads of hidden nooks and crannies that you can fly to and explore, and I really like it. It's still not the prettiest level in the game, but it's certainly a lot more fun and memorable than the original. Despite the fact that the Virgin Blarg scientist doesn't stop talking, I really like this level. On the complete and utter opposite side of the spectrum is this next level, Battalia. Now, remember Battalia from the original? It was rainy. This Battalia is one of my least favourite levels in the game because you've got Drek talking all the time, and also, what the fuck happened? It was raining last time I was here. That's right. It's law that every game must have a snow level, and this game cut Hoven. The defense cannon on this level is no longer manned by the plumber, so don't get to see him again. He's gone. At the end of the grind rail, there isn't another soldier because there are no soldiers in this game, and there aren't any law enforcements other than the Galactic Rangers. Apparently law enforcement has just been fucking deleted. Instead, there is a random infobot floating here in the middle of a platform on a planet that I have never been to before, and it's a message from Grim talking about how he's got a brother on Poketaru. Now, why is this here? How did it get here? Why did Grim send it here? I didn't tell him I was coming here.
His name's Felton. We don't talk much on account of him being a bit of a slacker, but he sent me a distress call this morning. He said Drek was attacking Poketaru with these hydro harvester things.
So, now we're on Poketaru. We're gonna run around here collecting B-roll footage for an hour or so. But also there's the actual main quest. It's relatively similar to the original, except instead of the funny resort owner guy and Bob's Robo-Shack, it is Grimm's brother and Big Al again. Why couldn't Al give us the thruster pack earlier? Well, the answer is because he only downloaded the Holo plans last night. Stop sticking Holo in front of everything before I shove this Holo script up your Holo arse. We escort Grimm's brother through the resort, and at the end, instead of finding a locked door that we cannot open and talking to Bob, we just find Al in the karaoke and tiki lounge. They talk about nerd shit together, like conventions and critics. They very sarcastically mock critics by saying,
It's everything.
There isn't a Holo film, game, or online product launch she hasn't shredded in the comment section. You know, that kind of judgment takes real skill.
Fuck you, alright? I had to play through your dumbass game. That alone should be worthy of a medal. I don't need you throwing backhanded insults at me while I do it. Al upgrades our ship, and we do the fly around destroying the Hydro Harvesters thing, and it's actually really fun. But if I hear Big Al say, "Do a barrel roll," again, I might go into a blind fury and start taking lives. When we land, Al gives us the thruster pack. I do want to point out that this was the planet where I softened up to this game, mostly the gameplay. I really enjoy moving around this level. The mood is so relaxing when you're not in combat and you're just swimming. It's exactly how I remember the original being in my childhood, except I'm not looking at a PlayStation 2 game through rose-tinted glasses. It actually looks like this now, and that's amazing to me. I really like that. I'll also be honest, this is the first time I even smiled at a line in this game. I think it is my favourite line in the whole game.
I actually had a lovely fishing trip planned before these hydro harvesters showed up and ruined everything.
Oh, how long was your trip?
It's going on about 10 years now. The fishing was just starting to get good, too.
It made me crack a smile, which for this game is fucking impressive. On the other side of at least a similar coin, seeing as we're on the water planet, now is probably a good time to talk about a dumb thing that this game does, which is whenever you're underwater and start running low on oxygen, Quark says,
"Of course, Ratchet, you need out the surface to breathe."
It's one of the most obnoxious things about this game. Luckily, at the end of the sewers on this level, we get the O2 mask. Obviously Fred is not here, he is gone. Because Orkson was dropped from the game though, the O2 mask is almost completely pointless. It is completely optional. It's not pointless because there are still water sections, but it is completely optional. But it does make exploring Poketaru easier, and it makes Quark shut up when you're underwater, so in my eyes it's basically critical. The other reason they couldn't have had Fred here is because Fred asks for raritanium, which in the original game was rare, but obviously that wouldn't have worked in this game because the raritanium isn't rare. It is one of the most lucrative resources in the world, in the galaxy, and it's used for token weapon upgrades? I had no shortage of the stuff on my first playthrough, let alone on New Game Plus when I'd got all the upgrades and I was still just collecting it. What am I going to do with this?
Let's pick a new planet.
Onto the Blarg homeworld and the Warbot factory on planet Quartu. I quite liked the fact that Quartu was the Warbot facility because it made Orkson feel even more forgotten, but they aren't even gonna put a factory there. It's just abandoned. Of course, that's far too many serious undertones for this game, so no, this is just the Blarg homeworld now. So we're just gonna go to Quartu, kick in the door, and the characters all sit around on this opposite sides of this big table, and Quark bullies Clank and... what's her name again? Yeah, Alaris. Right. Quark ridicules Clank and Alaris for wanting to think about what they're doing before fucking Halo jumping in and trying to kill everything that moves. I mean, seriously. We Halo jump down and finish this fight. We Halo jump in and Brax and Quark head off to the compound, but because Clank ran out of jetpack fuel, Cora stays with us to infiltrate the hardware. We have a relatively long Clank section. I probably think that this is the hardest bit in the game because you have to catch this annoying little prick in an annoyingly scripted section, so you cannot just run after him, grab him by the collar and throttle him, but obviously Clank wouldn't do that because he's nice, he's an intellectual. Eventually we trap him in a box and he just tells us how to disable his security system in the way of saying don't do this thing. It is the most annoying, supposed to be funny...
You dare execute that command! You executed it! Well, don't even think about double-clicking on the security icon and bypassing our systems! You did it again! I don't believe this!
Come in, team. I have disengaged the facility's security grid.
Good work, pal. See you back at the factory tarmac.
After this, we enter the compound with Ratchet and are greeted by a bunch of evil Zircons.
It looks like the main office is up there.
Oh my. This assembly line is the place of my creation. I am experiencing many conflicting feelings.
You can't condense down a cutscene that establishes the origins of Clank and the stakes for the final boss fight of the game. You can't condense that down into, I am experiencing many conflicting feelings. You can't expect me to be sympathetic after this. What a fucking hell moment. No one ever even responds to Clank saying this. It's just dropped, it's just forgotten, it's just another throwaway line that's there for the sake of noise. Anyway, the factory starts off as a linear section of enemies and platforming, and then you unlock the fuel station where you recharge your jetpack and then you can fly around. And then Drax gets smeared across the wall and fucking dies. And then there's a boss fight with Mother Zircon, which is almost challenging when you're playing on normal game mode or hard. Let's just fly around and shoot. The original, not original as in original game, but original as in new to this game, levels in this game are ridiculous because they're not original, they aren't brand new, they're just the levels that they didn't want from the original but also realised they couldn't scrap anymore because otherwise they wouldn't have any planets. So what they did is they turned them into linear corridors. Core 2 and the Deplanetizer are the main culprits of this. Unfortunately, you at least go to the Deplanetizer twice. In fact, there's another thing. It's actually really easy to 100% get everything on a planet on just the first trip. There's no requirements that you haven't already met, apart from a couple of instances, but then it's just gold bolts, which is completely optional. You know, remember in Ratchet 2002 when you had to get the Magna Boots to then come back to Battalia to actually finish that section? I appreciate it didn't reward you with very much, but it at least felt like you'd finished dealing with the planet and you had to come back to it. And sure, maybe they weren't trying to go for a Metroidvania style game, but it would have been nice to have. We discover the plans for Deplanetizer in Drek's office, and his plan is explained to our heroes. We see Drex escape, and his henchman says the line that probably made me cringe the hardest up to this point.
You don't even have my email! It's Space
Then he gets arrested for being cringe. Also, Quark is back. I wonder what he was doing that meant he couldn't come help earlier. Cringe Henchman tells us that Drek is going to destroy Novalis with the Deplanetizer. We also learn that the Schnorkelsons had twins this morning. I'm glad to hear they're doing well. It's been such a long time since I contacted them. Oh wait, why did you need to say that? What was the point? Was it supposed to be funny? Was it supposed to be world building? No, it was just another throwaway line. On the way to the Deplanetizer, Quark says that he's going to go in and try and reason with Drek, and then completely ignores his team when they say that that's kind of pointless. This is weird. I don't like this. Quark has shown no interest in being peaceful up until now. Up until now, he's just wanted to kill everything and be jealous of Ratchet. I don't know what's happening. Also, Alaris says that backup's on the way. Backup never arrives. What backup? We are the only law enforcement in this entire galaxy. Whose jurisdiction are we under? Which planet? Is it Novalis? Because Novalis is about to get blown up. I think the police are trying to rescue everyone. Right? People say things in this game. People say things and don't consider what it means. Then there's a boss fight against Victor Von Ion when he's in his ship, Broom Broom. It's like the Quark section, actually, above all Tannis in the original game, but in fact it's of little note apart from the fact that at the end Victor Von Ion jetpacks over to the Phoenix, which is the Galactic Ranger's ship, and clings to the underside, which means that Clank actually has to face off against him and ends up getting closure against the first adversary that he faces. Woo! Closure. Also, Ratchet lands face first at the Deplanetizer after getting his ship blown up by the turrets. Now, we do some corridor fighting without Clank, but because it's basic corridor linear action set piece, I didn't notice that Clank wasn't there. It completely white noise. It's here that Ratchet experiences failure for the first time. Actual failure instead of just being told that he's not good enough by Quark. He fails. He fails to stop Drek, and Drek deplanetizes Novalis, and by that I mean reduces it to rubble. This could have been a really good scene. Also, Quark betrays This is the scene where we learn that Quark has betrayed them, which feels a bit out of the blue, at least in this game. The only reason he would have had to betray them would be jealousy to Ratchet, but I mean, that seems kind of low even for Quark. But this scene could have been a really powerful motivator for Ratchet to get his arse in gear and actually do something of note for the rest of the game. You know, by this point in the original game, Ratchet had discovered that Quark had betrayed him, was out for blood, was out for Quark's blood. In fact, if we're going with similar parallels, which I think we are, he'd just crashed Quark down on Altanis and was satisfied that he had got revenge and realised that he needed to help and was ready to help just about anyway. In this, Drek doesn't kill Ratchet, instead he puts him in an escape pod and poof, off he goes back to planet Veldin, where he lands and gets out and has a mope. Also, the game very hastily adds that, oh, it's fine because Novalis was evacuated in the 12 minutes notice that they had. That really came across when the planet was being disintegrated with no ships other than ours anywhere near it. You wanted to avoid implying mass genocide, huh, Insomniac? Why? Death doesn't deter me, in this life or the next. Did you do this so as not to keep the game sanitized and not leave a black mark on anyone's record? But it wouldn't do that, would it? Because the idea of implying something as serious as genocide wouldn't be a black mark. It would, in fact, show that these writers can do good writing and aren't basic talentless. But no. We don't want to do anything that might make our company seem like we support genocide. Why is everything so sanitized these days? Why is it that a Ubisoft game is so not political that a game about shooting terrorists in Washington DC isn't political? I don't understand. And anyway, the fact that they just hastily said that they were evacuated shows that they just have no balls. So the best motivator we've got for Ratchet to do anything is that he's been betrayed by Quark.
Good to have you back, Ratchet.
Thanks, Yolaris. What's the latest?
I managed to decrypt Nefarious' files from Drek Industries. Bad news. His next target is Umbris.
Also, one last quick question before we move on to the next section. Whose ship is this that I'm currently sat in on screen? Because it sure as hell isn't mine, because if you recall, mine was atomized. Apparently, Drek is targeting Umbris next, and we realise that Dr. Nefarious has just been using Drek because he wants to destroy the solar system under the watch of the Galactic Rangers, because that would be bad for the Galactic Rangers, and he wants to get back at the Galactic Rangers for being not nice to him. So we're off to Kalibo to get the Hologuise. Again, pretty much unchanged. I quite enjoyed running around Kalibo, actually. It made a nice change from the dark corridors. But that said, there's not much to say about it because it was so unchanged, apart from the Gadgetron CEO. Welcome back to I Hate Everyone and Everything, and this man in particular, because the Gadgetron CEO... Remember how he was all cool and calm about the invasion because, he makes the weapons, so if he's being invaded, then what's he gonna do? He's gonna pull out all of his weapons, what he makes, and kill back. But this one is a panicky, annoying, 50-year-old man who is desperately attempting to appeal to the youth of today.
Do me a favor. When you use it, post your thoughts on the social medias. The kids love their social medias. Hashtag Gadgetron.
Also, when we arrive, he treats us like celebrities, and that's weird, because then he says, oh, well, I could give you this Hologuise that you absolutely clearly need for a very serious mission to stop the galaxy being destroyed, but I'm actually going to get you to compete for it in a hoverboard race. So either have us be nobodies and compete for it in a hoverboard race, or have us be celebrities who are recognised throughout the galaxy, and as a result, he just gives it to us. Or, I'd be happy to pay for it, but don't waste my goddamn time. So, fine, hoverboard race. They're fun, as I said, and easier than the original, but here's an idea. What if you did lose? Imagine being the winner of that hoverboard race, and you just have to do it again because the host of the races calls do-over because the one he wanted to win doesn't win. Imagine having to bend over backwards just to oblige this furry little shit who throws a temper tantrum if he doesn't get what he wants. I mean, I suppose it was the way in the original as well. If you fail, you have to do it again until you win. But, you know, you'd be livid.
Hashtag Gadgetron.
It's time. This was it. This was the last thing that was holding off the massacre. This was the straw that broke the camel's back. I don't know what, I don't know when, but something's life ends with me. So we're off to the final confrontation on the Planetizer. Before we land, we see a cutscene where we learn that Quark only betrayed the Rangers to keep them safe? Fucking what?
But sometimes sacrifices are necessary for the greater good.
Then Dr. Nefarious betrays Drac and sends him off to the half-built planet below. Okay, so we don't even get a boss fight against the antagonist of the original game. Instead, we get a boss fight against Dr. Nefarious from the funny third game. Why even bother? Why have him here if he's literally just going to be a non-presence? Huh? Oh, because it's got to be recognisable as the first game. So, here we go, stealth section with the holo guys. There's a big dust-up with all the robots when we get found out, and then we enter the room where we were earlier and activate and deactivate the gravity destabilizer.
Ratchet!
Greetings, Cadet.
Oh, this is some more of the abrupt jank I was talking about earlier. Jesus. So, boss fight against Quark. It's even got a gimmick. Sometimes he throws a Groovatron into the middle of the arena, and you have to go get it. You have to go break it so that you can stop grooving. But here's a question for you. Why are we having a boss fight against Captain Quark if he's already shown that he's remorseful for betraying the Galactic Rangers? So, but now we've just got him remorseful, mercilessly trying to kill Ratchet, remorseful again. Like, what's the point? I don't understand. The Planetizer gets pulled off course and doesn't destroy Umbrus. Then Nefarious drops and spawns a giant robot for a boss fight. Final boss time, hooray! There's a grind rail section to begin with, then it's fly around and shoot. It's pretty easy, even without cheats enabled. With cheats enabled, it took me less than a minute. That's not saying I didn't die, because he's got tough robots around the arena, which did add at least a bit of challenge. There's that. But we rescue Quark, and,
I can't reach you in time! Just get out while you can!
Teleporter charging.
What are you doing? Improvising.
Wait, was this supposed to be like that time in the original game where they say, "This time I am thinking what you're thinking"? Because Ratchet looks at Clank like, oh, that lovable robot who I am such good friends with, when actually, I refuse to believe that these people are any more than acquaintances, right? Like, the two have never argued. What? There is no... So, I don't understand how this was supposed to be a big story climax, but that's it. Credits roll. Although that's the end of the game, it's not quite the end of this section. There are a few things that I wanted to say but didn't quite get time for in the main chunk of it. First of all, Drac in this game was turned from a genuinely sinister, villainous character into funny, wacky, ha-ha, bad joke. He wasn't funny, though. He didn't take anything seriously. He was a bad joke. Also, Magna Boots in this game, weird logical thing, you can jump with them, and when you jump with them you go back towards the magnetic rail. I don't understand how that works in terms of logic and physics, because it's not how magnets work. You couldn't jump with the Magna Boots in the original, which made sense. Last but not least on my list of gripes, the game is so much more linear, to a frankly disappointing degree. I mean, as I said, the original wasn't exactly Dark Souls, but at least it felt big because you went back to old planets, it felt like you were exploring this big galaxy, but not here. Here, you're going down a checklist, that's what it is. Even optional objectives say optional next to them, so you don't even have to do them. Whereas in the original, you didn't know, and it encouraged you to explore. But I don't just have gripes, there are a couple of things about this game that I do like. I really like the moment-to-moment gameplay. The environments are intricately detailed, gorgeous, and fun to explore. The combat and exploration is genuinely fun, and the game is animated so incredibly well. It is absolutely gorgeous, and I cannot fault Insomniac for that. That is, the guys who worked on the visual design for this game should be incredibly proud of themselves. It's supremely polished. I don't think I noticed any bugs or glitches. It handles huge amounts of particle effects with millions of light sources extremely well, and I genuinely enjoyed playing it. If I found that I felt tired or down, or didn't really want to have to think about anything and just wanted to run around an environment killing things, I'd pick this game up. I did more than 2 playthroughs, because I had my original playthrough and I did a playthrough to record this, but I played it plenty on my own too. So as much as I hate the story, the gameplay gave enough of a cathartic experience to keep me coming back. So what's my verdict? Play both of these games. You should play the original game for the story, the characters, and the worlds. You should play the rebooted version afterwards, just to show how far we've come in terms of graphics and gameplay tech in 14 years between these games coming out. If you skip the cutscenes, ignore the shitty dialogue and annoying characters, Ratchet 2016 is a game worth playing for a few hours of fun. Just never ever forget what it could have been. This next section is basically just a quick fire round. I don't hate myself enough, so I watched the movie. I'll probably just use some B-roll of the game here because, you know, people complain if you just play them a film. Some things get explained, like the mag booster on Ratchet's ship in Metropolis, not Alero City. There's some more screen time with Alaris, so she feels more developed, and it all just makes a bit more sense. But then there are moments like the scene where Quark presents his plan to the Rangers that feels like Ratchet's just a little too welcome, because in the film he's only been with the Rangers for a couple of days, but in the game you've just done several missions with them and proved your worth, as it were. It feels a bit like it's jumping about times too. It kind of has the pacing of a trailer, but the length of a film. The attack on Quartu was 40 minutes in and felt pretty sudden, but we also actually get to see what happened with Quark on Quartu, whereas in the game that was just weird, he just wasn't there. In fact, Quark's whole betrayal gets a lot more development in the film, especially compared to the game. Okay, so in the original, he was twisted from the start, but in the film, there's screen time dedicated to setting him up as vulnerable to Drek's manipulation, and Drek does manipulate him. So that just generally feels more thought out. In the game, the screen time was cut because it wouldn't have fit in with the pacing. In the film, even the evacuation of Novalis is explained a bit. The line, "There's our little juggling psychopath," is explained by Drek mere moments before in a line that wasn't in the game but was in the movie, because that confused me. I was like, what? Why is he juggling? What do you mean juggling? But that gets explained in the film. Look, the movie isn't worth watching. Don't watch it. Its story is slightly better than the game. And that's to be expected, because it has to hold up on story alone. It doesn't have gameplay. It has a few good lines and a couple of chuckles. It gave me a couple of chuckles, and it has way less cringe humour. The sound design in it was also really, really good, and much like the game, the animation was slick and impressive to look at. But other than that, the movie is very much a meh. I also just wanted to briefly talk about the IGN review. I'll link it in the description, and I recommend you go watch it before this section. Regardless, I want to tone down on the memes and getting over-dramatic about this for a brief moment, because I want to talk about something that genuinely does concern me. About the games industry and the review companies like IGN. So let's say you run a review website like IGN, and there's a big upcoming game release. Let's call it Bloodborne 2. Now, you want to get as much traffic as you can on your website leading up to the game's release. So, how do you do that? You get a review copy from the developer of Bloodborne 2. Now, it's just a review copy. Let's say there's no obligation it's not a contract. You still paid for the game, but it's a deal among developers. They can refuse to give you a review copy. So you're likely to say something nice about the game because you're going to want them to give you a review copy next time they release a game. And then the cycle continues, because if you've got a review copy, then people can come to you before the game is released, because you'll give them a nice overview of it and whether or not it's worth buying. But because you want to get a review copy of the next game that they release, you only say the good things. Now, that's not a fair representation of the product. Look, I appreciate this probably isn't the best written script in the world, but I did try and pick out my biggest flaws and good things about both games. So, how's about we do the same with the IGN review for Ratchet and Clank? I'm going to pick out my least favourite lines from it, and I'm going to complain about them.
Brimming with hilarious writing.
Hashtag Gadgetron.
Back in 2002, the original Ratchet attempted to capture Pixar's magic formula of colorful worlds, expressive characters, and nuanced jokes that could be appreciated differently by fans of all ages.
By the way, the original fucking succeeded. Without a doubt they succeeded. I mean, for nuanced jokes, the titles of the games were most often some kind of dick joke. You know, Up Your Arsenal, Going Commando, Quest for Booty, Full Frontal Assault. I mean, yeah, this isn't something that the originals failed in.
Cut to 2016, and Ratchet on PS4 has finally cashed in on all of those promises.
Yeah, I just want to cross off expressive characters and nuanced jokes. Oh, you want evidence?
Oh my. This assembly line is the place of my creation. I am experiencing many conflicting feelings.
They'd have to tackle a brain-eating zombie T-Rex.
Alongside this is the energetic, well-written story that's rife with character and humor that works on multiple levels.
Look, no, I'm not even going to justify this. It's just, no.
The 15-hour campaign
3. Take it or leave it.
Follows the same whimsical Star Wars-inspired storyline as the original game.
No, it doesn't. These two stories are completely different.
But adds depth and characters while expanding the scope of the adventure.
I'm done. I'm fucking done. You see what I mean? Look, I'm not gonna do the rest of this video. You can go watch it if you care. But by now I'm sure you get my point about it being just misrepresentative of the actual game for the sake of saying something positive. And don't think I'm stopping here because this is where it ends, either. I will link the review in the description. Go watch it. And it's wrong. This isn't the only IGN review where it happens, either. You will see this all over their website, and I'm not the only person who has complained about it. Also, linked in the description is the Gaming Brit Show's video on Ratchet and Clank 2016. I recommend you go watch that, because it's probably better than mine. So that's the end. That's it. That's the end of this quickfire round section. Nothing is sacred, no matter how clever or original it may be. You know? This is a bland, conformist age in which the clever, original, witty, brilliant games are drowned out by the same live service bullshit. It's not a tragedy. It's not the end of the world. It's just fucking sad. Alright? Ratchet 2002 was an original, clever game with good, clever themes and fantastic witticisms. It was just good. Alright? And it had a message in its themes. It had a message about the capitalist nature of our society. And Ratchet 2016 has become the bland, conformist tosh that the original game mocked so heavily. It's bland, it's watered down, it's just ridiculous. It's not a travesty. It's not the end of the world. This is just a blatant marketing exercise for a movie that nobody asked for. And you know what? The saddest thing is that think of how good this could have been if it was in the same style as the Crash Bandicoot or Spyro reboots, you know? If it was the first 3 games just modernized, not tried to fucking reset history. If we could have just... If it could have just... This isn't what anyone wanted. Nobody asked for this. You know what? That's it. That's all. Go be with your families. Try and fucking readjust to everyday life. Hi. I know this may have been a long video that was probably difficult to sit through, so if you did manage to watch all of it, let me know. I'm really grateful. This was a real passion project for me. And to anyone who has watched all of it, thank you. Any support would be greatly appreciated. If you like the video, like it, you know, with the button. And if you dislike the video, why the fuck are you still here? Go eat some hula hoops or something, you know? Something good. Subscribe if you enjoy. I haven't yet decided exactly what I'm doing next. I've got a lot of stuff in the works. I was thinking of doing something on Persona 5, but that might be too long, so I might instead do Fallout 4, or even another video on Subnautica, because I'd like to have another go at that, because the current Subnautica video isn't very good on the channel. I spent a long time on this video. The script alone is 30 pages long. It took me hours to write. I'm dreading editing all of this together. I postponed doing a lot of the recording for the sake of waiting for a prop, which ended up being useless because it didn't work, and just generally this project has encountered a lot of stumbles, and I felt very unmotivated to finish it for quite a long time. So if you can show a bit of support, I would be so incredibly grateful, because it will show that this work has paid off. So hopefully I'll see you next time with whatever I do next, and I'll try and get less frustrated about it and resort to drinking less. And hopefully it'll get done quicker. So the quality of this may have suffered, but I hope it hasn't. So, yes, go be with your families. Be happy. Thank you, and good night.